Hey, Dr. Cat, Professor K here once again. And we're going to talk about Chapter 9, which is Victims of Violence by Lovers and Family Members. And many of the chapters in this book I find are pretty deep. And especially if you've been victimized, I want to, like I have, you might need to take a break and take a walk, maybe take a day or two off. Because some of this stuff I've found, even with myself, that it can be difficult to read about or discuss for a great length of time. So please reach out to me if you're feeling these feelings, and let's talk about what we might be able to do. So, specifically in this chapter, we're looking at familial abuse, partner abuse. Also, this includes elder abuse, which is unfortunately, as the boomer population ages, is unfortunately becoming a lot more common as younger generations are having to deal with elderly parents and all the challenges that come along with caring for the elderly, especially those with dementia and other mobility issues. So this is, again, a very deep, very involved chapter. So I'm just going to touch on a few things, as I usually do. It can be difficult, especially in cases of partner abuse. I used to see this a lot in my work, where the wife, girlfriend, this is more common. It happens the other way around, but I'm saying it this way for a reason, because it's male on female violence is more common. I did have male victims, but commonly we're looking at male on female violence. And oftentimes there's a financial reason for staying. This is one of the biggest things, especially if the female is a stay-at-home mom. Maybe she's never been to school. Maybe they have a bunch of kids. It can be very difficult for people to break away from DV situations. I remember sitting in a training one time, and we were discussing this type of dynamic on abuse is occurring, but they're financially dependent on this person, or there's financial abuse occurring. The female is working, but she gives all her paychecks to the male, and she has no access to her own money. I've also seen it with people that don't speak English. Perhaps they're here from Mexico. They don't speak any English. They don't have any connections, and they're very dependent on that male breadwinner to take care of them. So it can be very difficult, even if violence is occurring, to be able to leave. And I was in this training, we were discussing that, and someone raised their hands, and she said, "Why don't they just leave? Why don't they just leave?" Statistically speaking, if a woman decides she's going to leave her abuser and she tells him, "I'm going to leave," she is now in very grave danger. Statistically speaking, women are murdered by their male partners when they decide to leave, when that partner no longer has control over them. So it is very tricky. Also, they still love that person. Now, it seems crazy if you're not in part of the situation, but love still matters. Or how about the kids? He's going to take the kids away from me. Maybe I saw a case where the male's family was very wealthy and the female's was not, and that was her big concern, is he's going to get a fancy lawyer and he's going to take my kids away. There's so many nuances involved in this situation. I never ever judge why a victim is not going to leave. I may get frustrated. I had an unfortunate lady that I don't know what happened to her, who kept calling our agency every couple of weeks, and she'd always say she was going to come in, and she would not show up. And then I could see it escalating. I could see it from first he wrote some nasty words on her car, and the next thing he did, he broke into the car, and the next thing he did was he damaged the car. And this escalation is very, very normal, and it's very, very scary. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened to her. I can only hope that she is okay. Also, with police departments, they can be also hesitant to get involved in certain domestic cases. And depending on the state you're in, there's various laws on how arrests occur. In Colorado, if they're called out for a DV call, there has to be a DV arrest, whether it's the male or the female or either partner. There must be an arrest, but you don't get arrested for domestic violence. We have in Colorado what we call a DV enhancer. So you might get arrested for assault with a DV enhancement. That means you're getting arrested for domestic violence, but we don't have a law in the books that says you can just get arrested for domestic violence. So you'll have to look at that in your state. And if you start dealing with victims, you'll want to know how your state laws affect the rights of that victim and the charges that may be leveled against their accuser. So there's a lot more in this chapter to cover. I look forward to discussing this with you as always. And again, if you have any questions, my door is always open. Thank you.